Two big forces in the entertainment business want to make music together. Joining us from the Smith School of Business is Dr. Curt Grimm, professor of supply chain and strategy. Sir, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
The companies in question are Ticketmaster, which many people will be familiar with, and Live Nation, less so. So maybe tell us a little about both companies.
Well, respectively, they're the biggest in what they do. Ticketmaster has about a 70% market share in ticket sales for concerts, and Live Nation is the largest venue provider in the United States. They own about 140 concert venues and are the biggest in that business.
So what would a merger, proposed merger between these companies mean?
Well, depending on which side of the fence you're on here, it means very different things to different folks. Live Nation and Ticketmaster talk about how this is a very tough industry. Of course, economic times are hard. Profits are getting squeezed all over the music business industry. And they say they need this merger to survive and to thrive moving forward. They say it'll create efficiencies, maybe save about $40 million by integrating the ticketing with the venue ownership. On the other hand, opponents of the merger, whether it's independent artists, other venues that might be competing with the Live Nation venues, tend to be strongly opposed to this merger, and they're worried it's going to create a juggernaut that's just too powerful for them to compete with.
I know you go to concerts on occasion. What's your personal experience been with Ticketmaster? Because I know for a lot of people it's a somewhat controversial company.
Well, my own experience has been okay with Ticketmaster. I haven't had the sort of disasters others have had. You know, we all get a little annoyed perhaps paying that service charge and just dealing with a kind of a bureaucratic group. But I think they do what they do pretty well. The concert venues say, well, you can go in person to the venue and buy your ticket. You don't have to worry about paying that service charge, and nobody seems to want to do that. Others that have tried to provide ticketing have had some real disasters. I think it's a little harder than it looks. We take it for granted that when Ticketmaster does, for the most part, deliver us those tickets, and what they deliver us works when we go to the concert venues.
So this is the sort of merger that's going to get a pretty close look-see by the government. What agency looks at it, and how do they decide whether it gets approved?
Well, this is going to be the Department of Justice Antitrust Division. It's going to be, they're already looking at this. They've issued their so-called second request just last month, so it means they're going to take a pretty close look at this. A couple things that are interesting. First, this is going to be the first big test of the Obama administration new merger review team. And they have Christine Varney, Carl Shapiro kind of heading this up. We're going to expect a much more activist role in terms of looking at mergers, and it's going to be tougher for companies to get mergers through. So it'll be interesting there as the DOJ looks at this. On the other hand, this would be what we would consider a vertical merger. These companies are not direct competitors. That would be the case with a horizontal merger like XM Radio and Sirius or whatever. Antitrust authorities tend to be far more concerned with horizontal mergers, which makes sense if it's direct competitors merging. It's very unlikely that I think there'll be serious antitrust barriers in the end with this vertical merger, though it could well be the case that the companies may have to consent to some bit of alteration in the deal to get permission from the Department of Justice.
Well, because it'd be very hard for a competitor to Ticketmaster, if anybody gets the technology right, to seriously threaten them if the same company controls all the venues. So in the end, what's your betting on this?
Well, I'm actually thinking this is a good merger. I do think that this is a tough industry right now and tough to make some money. There is technology out there. I tell my students, and we just recently here at the Smith School had a Maryland Music Business Society event where I participated in a panel along with some folks from the Artist and a person from the 930 Club. All different perspectives. As I told the students, we have to take, I think, more of a Schumpeterian view here. It's okay to have a monopoly. out there, a dominant firm. As long as somebody else can come in, do things better, technology might allow a new entrant to come in and provide a better product. So I myself am not so worried about this merger. I think there's also the view that the more that competitors are complaining about the merger, some would say maybe that's a sign it's a good merger, because they're just worried about that tougher competition with a more efficient, integrated Live Nation Ticketmaster company. So I think on the whole, I'm more sympathetic to those views, and I do think this is, on the whole, a good merger.
All right, Dr. Curt Grimm joining us from the Smith School of Business. Thanks for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.